Hello there, hi, Assalamu alaikum. This is Amnah here from My English Matters, and welcome to another session of our Facebook Live session where we teach every Tuesday. So today is Wednesday, actually, if you're watching me live. But it was supposed to be yesterday, but yesterday we got caught up with some things, so the yesterday session has been postponed to today. So we go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. But if you're watching me live now, it's Wednesday, 11 a.m. Right, so if you're watching me, say hello in the comments. If you are shy, you can give me a heart, you can share this post or like it. Because today we are going to talk about overcoming writer's block. Hello, Yeni, I can see you. Right, so we're going to talk about overcoming writer's block. What is writer's block? Right, let me share with you my slides before we start. Okay, can you see it? There. How to overcome writer's block. Writer's block is similar to a mind blank, but it applies to when you are writing. So, for example, when you want to write a piece of a blog post, or when you want to write an email and you're looking at a blank screen and you're having a mind blank, you don't know what to write, you feel overwhelmed. That is writer's block. So let me know if you have ever had writer's block. So it's similar to going blank or your mind going blank when you're speaking, but this is when you are writing. Your mind goes blank, you don't know what to do, you don't know what to write, you panic. Okay, maybe you don't panic, but your mind goes blank. So Amirul, hello Muhammad Rizal, Siti Nur Laila, hi Aisha, hello Najib. Right, thank you for saying hello to me. Okay, I'm going to share with you 6 tips to overcome writer's block, and I have one extra tip. It's a bonus writing tip. So stay with me till the end because I'm going to share that last tip at the end of the session. Okay, right. My first tip to overcome writer's block as a second language learner is to be clear of why you're writing and who you're writing to. Now, writer's block doesn't only happen to people whose English is a second language. It also applies to people where English is their first language or they're already fluent in English. But it can happen when you are not clear of why you're writing and you're not clear of who you're writing to. So sometimes when we write, we are thinking about ourselves, right? But to overcome this writer's block, I want you to be clear about why are you writing and who the reader will be, because this will determine how you're going to write, the style of your writing, the voice that you're going to use. It's also going to determine the language and the points that you are going to share. So it's different if you are, the style of writing would be different if you are writing for somebody within your field of work compared to if you're writing to a general population or to normal people or laymen, lay women, you could say that. So being clear of why you're writing and who you're writing to can help you get yourself out of your head and into the minds of the reader and what the message that you want to convey to your readers, okay, what the message is. So it's good to write it down, write down why you're writing, have a piece of paper and a notebook with you. Have a piece of paper and a pen with you. Write down why you're writing and who you're writing to. So this will help you to be clear. Okay. My second tip is begin with an outline of your points. So instead of staring at a piece of paper, blank piece of paper, or staring at a blank screen, before you do that, right, to avoid having writer's block, is to outline your points. So this is what I do when I have to prepare a script or prepare a presentation. Before I even sit in front of the computer, I would outline all my points. It could be in the form of like, what is my introduction? Just a few points. And then I would come up with my the 3 points that I want to write. And then in the end, I would write down the conclusion. So it's just point form, bullet form, or it could be in the form of a mind map. So I like to use mind maps as well, especially I used mind maps a lot when I was a student. Our late father introduced mind maps to us from Tony Buzan's mind maps. And I used to use the Tony Buzan technique of mind mapping. So you could use that technique where you could write the title of your document or the piece of writing that you can write. And then draw branches like the introduction. What's the introduction? What's the conclusion? What's your point? So maybe there's like 3 points, and each point has a reason for the point and a branch for an example or for the elaboration, and then back to the point again. So having an outline can help you get your thoughts out, because sometimes we get writer's block because we are overwhelmed. We have so many ideas in our head and we don't know how to write them and put them on a piece of paper or put them in your Word document. So having that outline helps to get it all out before you actually begin. Asha says she likes to use mind maps for coming up with an outline. That's great. Mr. Yunus says, sometimes when we write longer, the more mistakes we will make. I would prefer to use simple sentences. Yeah, that's great. Suziana, yes, planning. Planning is good, right? It gets you out of your head, feeling overwhelmed, and it gets you ready to write. My next tip is number 3. Forget about being perfect. Writing involves multiple drafts. So one of the reasons that people get writer's block is they feel that the first draft, what that comes out on the piece of paper, what comes out on the screen, has to be perfect. I want you to forget about that and know that when it comes to writing, there are at least 2 drafts before you get the final draft that you are happy with. So for me, I would have maybe 3 or 4 drafts when I'm writing a blog post. So when I write blog posts, I write a draft first. And then the second draft is my editing, right? And then my third draft is when I edit on top of how I edited before that. And the last draft is when I proofread it. So that's like what, four drafts. And sometimes when I post a blog post, okay, and then I look back at it on it with a fresh pair of eyes, I edit it again. So I never stop editing, but having a deadline of when you will submit the final draft helps you to stop editing, but know that there's going to be more than one draft, right? The first draft is always going to be the crappy draft, the one that is not so good. So you're going to edit it again, and then you're going to proofread it. So it's normal. You're never going to have it perfect in the first draft. Okay? My next tip, number 4, listen to English speaking content to get into the habit of thinking in English. So this is something that you can do before you have to sit down to write. Give yourself an hour to get into an English speaking or an English thinking mode. So you could be listening to a podcast in English before you write, or you could be watching a video that's in English before you write. This is just to get your brain warmed up before you write, so that your thoughts are flowing in English rather than in your native language. It's fine to think in your native language, but you have to have a bit of time to transition from your native language to English, right? So give yourself about an hour or maybe half an hour just to get yourself thinking in English before you actually write. That is a way that you can prevent writer's block. Okay, hope that helps. Tip number 5, review other similar pieces for ideas, but do not plagiarize. So what I mean by this is that if you are writing, say, a report, okay, what you could do is look at other reports online. So you could Google like examples of reports and see how they write reports. And it could be particular to your field. It could be, for example, an engineering report. So look online for engineering reports. Or if you're writing a thesis, look online for examples of thesis. You don't have to read the whole thesis, but maybe you could just read a few pages and see how other people write similar pieces that you are preparing for, right? So this helps you to figure out the format, the sentence structure, the language, the voice, how they write, so that you can be ready and know how you are going to write when it comes to when it comes for writing, right? And also, for example, how I do it is when I'm writing blog posts, I'd like to look at other people's writing as well, especially blog posts, to see how they write. It helps me get into the mood or get into the flow of writing. When I look at other people's work, I get inspired. And it's good to look at different authors. Don't just read one person's work, because you may tend to copy their style of writing or their voice. So if you're looking at different authors, you're able to find what is suitable for you, what style you like, what style you like to read, and what style you like to write in. So review other people's works for ideas, but do not plagiarize. So what I mean by plagiarize is do not copy. Do not copy somebody else's work and say that it's yours. That's quite obvious, isn't it? But I just need to highlight it there because plagiarism is still out there. We still have people who plagiarize our work, and it's just wrong. Okay. Number 6, use templates for writing reports, formal letters, and etc. So it's similar to my previous tip, number 5, except that if you're writing something that has a particular template for example, formal letters, or maybe you're writing minutes of meetings, you can find templates online. Just Google templates for minutes of meeting, for example, template for formal letters. So you could just find that, and it's all just a matter of you putting in your points based on that template. It's easy that way. But if you don't find any template, you could just look at examples of formal letters, look at examples for reports or minutes of meetings, see how they do it, and that can help you structure your content in the similar way. And also, maybe you have templates that are already within your company or within your institution. So you could refer to those templates as well. If there are no templates, look at how other people are doing it within your company or within your institution. So it helps that way. For me, I rarely write formal letters, but I remember I had to write a formal letter to my son's teacher, and I had to write it in Malay. So I just Googled surat rasmi untuk sekolah or something like that. And I saw the structure and I just put in my own sentences of how they did it. And then the ending, like sekian terima kasih, which is the standard way that you end a formal letter, right? So yeah, that helps to look at templates online. So those are my 6 tips. And I have one more tip, number 7, which is a bonus writing tip. This tip is not really related to overcoming writer's block, but it is a tip for writing, which is to avoid translating from your native language to English. So if you have watched my sessions before this, you may have noticed that I've mentioned about practicing translating from your native language to English. That's okay when you are speaking, but when it comes to writing, it's best to write in the language that you were supposed to be writing in. Do not try to write in Malay first and then translate it to English. The outcome will not be as good as it would be if it was originally in English, because the flow of the sentences, the sentence structure is different from your native language to English. So that's why we encourage you to not translate from your native language unless you really have to. So unless you really have to, if you are a beginner in English, then it's fine. It's okay for you to write in Malay or write in your native language first and then translate it. But even if you do that, so you may know that I have some experience in translating. I did translation for Malay shows to English and English shows to Malay. And I did a lot of translating. I did about 4 years, I think 6, I can't remember. It was 2014 until 2020. So I did that for about 6 years. So how I would translate is, instead of translating word by word, I would translate the whole sentence. So I would read the whole sentence, or maybe sometimes it's the whole paragraph rather than the sentence, because you need to understand the context. And then based on what I understand from that paragraph or from that sentence, and then I come up with my own sentence in English, right? So rather than translating word by word, it's better to translate the essence of that sentence. So I hope that's clear. Do not use Google Translate for writing. Google Translate is good if you want to understand a particular, or if you want to translate Malay to English, English to Malay for your own understanding, but not for writing. So we don't encourage you to write something in Malay and then upload it to Google Translate and then just download it in English, because you have to have a level of skill or a level of fluency to find out what is wrong in the final version of the translated version, because some words may be different in Malay to English. To translate it in a different way. So it's a bit difficult that way. That's why it's better for you to just write straight away in English, unless you really have to translate. And sometimes I can usually tell, because I also have experience in editing. So if people submit their work to me, I don't do editing anymore, but I did it before. So if people submit their English work, English pieces to me, and I would edit it, I can usually tell if it was translated from Malay to English, because the sentence structure sounds very Malay. Okay, it's not wrong, but it's always better to practice writing fully in English and then edit it from there. So instead of translating, write it straight in English. Remember, the first draft is not going to be perfect, and then edit it yourself. Or if you are not confident with your own level of English, you can find yourself an editor, find yourself a proofreader to edit your work. Okay? General Isa says, yes, direct translation might distort the context. That's right. So those are my 7 tips, which actually 6 tips to overcome writer's block, with 1 bonus writing tip. So I'll just summarize it for you guys. Okay, here we go. How to overcome writer's block. Number 1, be clear of why you're writing and who you're writing to. Number 2, begin with an outline of your points. Number 3, forget about being perfect. Writing involves multiple drafts. Number 4, listen to English speaking content to get into the habit of thinking in English before you write. Number 5, review other similar pieces for ideas, but do not plagiarize. Number 6, use templates for writing reports, formal letters, etc. And bonus tip number 7, avoid translating from your native language unless you really have to. So if you have any questions, just post them here before we say goodbye. I just have one story that I want to tell you about avoid translating. So I grew up in England, Manchester. So I was like 6. I went to England. Our family moved to England when I was 6, and then we came back when I was about 14. So all of my primary school years were in Manchester, England. And when I came back to Malaysia, I was in Form 2. So when I was in Form 2, I had never written a Malay essay in my life at that point. And then I remember the first few times that I had to write an essay, I would write the essay in English and then I would translate it. I even did that for examinations. Can you believe it? So I would write the whole essay in English and I would just translate it all into Malay. And then I remember my Malay Bahasa Melayu teacher, she met my mother. It was like a parent-teacher meeting. And she said to my mother, she said, the way that Amnah writes her essays, it sounds like she is translating from English to Malay. So she could also see that I was translating from English to Malay. So once I got that feedback from her, she was kind. She was just laughing about it. Once I got that feedback from her, I forced myself to write in Malay rather than translating. So the act of trying to translate from English to Malay is a good practice, but eventually you want to move towards just writing fully in that language that you want to write in. So for your case, it could be your native language to English. For me, it was English to Malay. You would be Malay to English or your native language to English. So I hope that helps. I see that I haven't got any questions. So that's all from me for today. I hope you found my tips helpful. If you have a problem of having writer's block, I hope these tips will be helpful for you. And we'll see you, inshallah, next week. We'll have our next Facebook Live session at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. So that's all from me. Thank you so much for joining me. Assalamu alaikum.